Welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast, the definitive music industry and gear podcast with Jonathan Gilmet and Frank Fleckenstein.
What's up, guys? Good morning and welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast. It's episode 31 and it's a guest episode. And I'd like to say hello first to the Duke of Voxington, Jonathan Gilmet, coming live from, what was it again? Edmonton?
You were going to say Belgium, weren't you?
No, I wasn't going to say Belgium.
Yes, from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Perfect. And we also have a special guest today, Roman from Shnobel Tone, coming in live from, we're going to find out in a second, where are you actually located?
I'm in Ridgefield, Washington.
Ridgefield, Washington.
USA.
Okay. Nice one. What's the weather?
It's, I don't know how many degrees, but it's a sunny day and it's not too hot and not too cold.
Nice.
You're lucky.
It's kind of rare to get some sun, but we're in for a very long, dreadful weather, just rain, clouds.
So that's Washington State?
Yeah, Washington State.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that it rains a lot over there.
Yes.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Frank, you're in Germany, right?
I'm in Germany, and it's starting to get colder over here. So it's, I don't know how it translates to Fahrenheit, but in Celsius we have like something between 11, 12-ish degrees, and the wind is pretty chilly. And yeah.
For
but
you.
Well.
11 degrees Celsius. Dude, in Edmonton, it can go down to minus 50. 11. Come on.
Yeah, but we're not in winter yet, and the place I'm located in is like in an old. It used to be a bay, like a sea bay, and even the ancient Romans knew that this was a good place because the weather is kind of stable and it's not too cold. So there you go.
Nice.
Roman. Let's talk about Shnobel Tone, or let's start a little bit before Shnobel Tone, because according to what I found online, you started Shnobel Tone in 2015. That's correct.
Yes, I started modifying volume pedals to put tuner into them. So 2015, that's when I started.
2015. And before that, the only thing I could find is you were pretty much doing YouTube videos on a steadily growing channel, and it was very pedal focused.
Yes, I started that in 2011, and I did a lot of demo videos, comparisons of pedals, and yeah, I did a lot of videos.
You did a lot of videos. How many videos in total would you say did you do? Do you have a count in?
I think right now they're not all demos, but just total, I think like 2,700 videos.
Jesus.
And I've been kind of taking it easy lately.
Yeah.
Because of now I'm building pedals and making them. And
Yeah.
so the demo stuff is kind of slowed down.
Interesting. It's we have kind of a similar sort of history. I mean, my channel is not as big as yours. I don't have that many videos, but it kind of went the same way. I worked in MI for the largest part of my life. I started a YouTube channel that was like looking at gear and demoing gear and reviewing gear, and then I went into, making pedals because it was sort of interesting. What did spark your interest to go from, okay, now I've played a lot of pedals and I've tested them and I've made comparisons, to now I'd like to get into modifying them?
So just always, I think, being a musician and wanting kind of have the entrepreneur kind of thing going as well. And I wanted to eventually work for myself, which I do now. And building was something that I kind of dreamed about. But when I saw somebody post a volume pedal and they photoshopped a tuner into it, and everybody went crazy. Kind of, they're like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" Like, Ernie Ball or TC Electron need to make this, and I saw the reaction. I'm like, "Oh, there's something there." Let me try. And so the kind of my mind started working, and because I'm not an electrical engineer or anything like that, and I got excited, and so I'm like, it's possible. It's got to be possible. So I, in my garage, I started drilling things. I started trying to fit it together, and I did, and I uploaded the video to my channel, and it kind of just took off. It kind of went viral a little bit.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, and so I started building them and selling them, and then everything kind of started from there into the pedal stuff building.
Okay. Do you know if you did achieve to sell them and like release the pedal, the volume pedals before or after Ernie Ball?
No, actually, I started the mods. Yeah. And then a friend of mine, Lance, I forget his last name, from Gear Talk, Lance Seymour. He had connections to Ernie Ball, and he's like, "Hey, I think this is cool to show Ernie Ball." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, awesome." So I get in touch with Brian Ball. Yeah. And he's like the grandson of Ernie. And they're like, "Cool, yeah, send it over." So I sent it to Ernie Ball. They looked it over, and I thought maybe they would want to work together or something. And they're just like, cool. They had it for a week and sent it back. And I'm like, oh man, whatever. I'll just keep selling the mods. Yeah. And then about 4 or 5 years later, they released their version.
Oh, seriously? Really? Oh, yeah. Wow.
So a lot of people think I sold it or like work with them, but I mean, I was modifying them. It's like, a lot of people are like, you came up with it, but I guess it's not able to be patented because it's like, cheese and meat, you have a hamburger. I don't know. I didn't have a lot of money or anything. I didn't need to fight those guys like, hey, I came up with something. I just was already moving on to my pedals. So, but yeah, Ernie Ball actually borrowed my idea. And everybody freaked out. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I'm like, hey, I make these.
It's a very common thing in the music industry to borrow ideas and sometimes borrow them so close that they're almost like indistinguishable from one another. You go like, okay, this is the original Tube Screamer. This is another Tube Screamer. We're going to say TS instead of Tube Screamer. And then you have all these different flavors. So I think whenever someone has a great idea, other people jump on it. That's a good thing because that means you were onto something. But eventually, if I'm not mistaken, you ended up coming up with your own circuit for a pedal, which now no one is copying because you're like doubling down on making the circuit more efficient and more diverse, if I'm not mistaken, which would be the daily driver.
Yeah. So that is when I went into, because I knew the mods were temporary. Just kind of, I don't know. I'm not like crazy smart, but I just kind of have a good intuition about things. And I knew that was my springboard, sort of. So I went part-time at my other job. And then eventually I just quit and I went full-time to building. And so, yeah, YouTube was a good springboard to have an audience to introduce the mods. And then eventually I met a gentleman named George in around 2018. I met him at a trade show, and he's a very brilliant guy with electrical engineer experience. And they're here in Washington. I think they moved to Minnesota now. But in the beginning, we got to know each other, and I'm like, I kind of always wanted to build my own drive pedal. And he's like, hey, I can help you. I have a circuit. So we worked out a deal where I took them to the NAMM show, kind of paying for them and everything. And they in exchange would help me build this circuit, which became the daily driver pedal. And I didn't know how unique that circuit was, but I did my best tuning it to where like I've played a lot of pedals and I own clones and tone, kind of the top drive pedals. And there was something in this circuit which was even more special. I didn't even realize it until now. Like people are really like, oh, it's not compressing as much and it's letting my tone through and it's stacking really well with other pedals. And yeah, I released that pedal and kind of all the other iterations that came are derived from the Daily Driver circuit, which is also a unique circuit. Yeah, I was kind of fortunate to meet him and not just take like a clone circuit and just modify it or like Tube Screamer. I actually I'm dealing with an original circuit. Now, I don't even know where it came from or what. Maybe there's something out there, but as far as drive pedals, it's unique as like when you have the gain all the way down, there's no signal and you like feed the gain like an amp sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really unique in a drive pedal as well. Yeah.
And I think the first time that I saw a video that you were demoing, I think it was the original TC preamp. The one with the just the 3-knob one with the bass and treble control, which I think in the TC is active, and just the preamp. That was the first one that I saw one of your videos, and what kind of stood out to me was the fact that you were kind of demoing it in a different context, because by then it had become sort of the sort of metal preamp pedal where people use it to tighten their low end and get more grit in the higher register and whatnot. So your video was kind of standing out because the context was different, because you're obviously not a metal guy. At least not that I know of. It's not that I've heard you play.
I'm not metal at all.
any heavy stuff. But apart from having an original unique circuit, are there any pedals that you drew inspiration from? Are there any sort of pedals where you said, okay, that's great, it's a great starting point, it's sort of a good canvas, and I'm going to work from there? Or was everything always going to be like, no, this has to be a unique sort of circuit and sound?
About the uniqueness, I was very fortunate that I didn't realize how unique it was in the beginning. I just wanted to make it sound. I had benchmarks.
Mm-hmm.
I had the King of Tone is one of my favorite overdrives before I made the Daily Driver.
Yeah.
And so the King of Tone it's just the right kind of mid-range. And I know the Klon is mid-rangey, but it can get a little too nasally as you turn up the gain. But probably the King of Tone was a pedal that I benchmarked it the most against.
Okay.
And then when the King of Tone, when you crank the gain all the way up on the lower gain channel, it just becomes thin and nasally sort of. And I was so excited that the Daily Driver actually that's one of the things about this circuit is as you keep turning the gain up, it kind of just gets fuller. A lot of drive pedals get really nasally, but this one kind of gets fuller. And I was so excited. I'm like, man, this is cool. This is better than the King of Tone. It's more versatile. And I see now demos with people demoing the Daily Driver against a few other popular drives, and they were like, wow, this doesn't compress as much. It's and I'm like, oh, awesome. People get it.
That's it's true. It's rare. It's difficult. It's difficult to create a pedal that, you turn up the gain, it becomes thicker, but it also doesn't mush things up. It doesn't become fuzzy in a way. It just becomes fuller, rounder, but it doesn't get. That's something that some of the clone copies also do. You turn them up and they start to become fuzzy in a way, and sort of thin in the lower register.
Yeah, on the daily driver, it when it starts to get thicker, the top end as well comes out, and some of that fizz can come out. So that's why I have a toggle switch, the little in the middle, the toggle. So I really wanted people to take advantage of the chiminess and openness on the lower gain, but then as they go up on the gain knob, they can kind of tame some of that fizz from the top.
Right.
So that's where I really wanted that switch. Because we were prototyping, he's like, "Where do you want the high end?" I'm like, "Well, can you put a switch? I can." Because there's a capacitor that rolls off the top.
Yeah.
And when I tried it, I was like, wait a minute, like, can we leave this in? Because I really like to have the, and then we left that. And so giving it as much flexibility in the tone. And when you cut a little bit and then boost with the knob, you get a slightly different flavor in the top end and the upper mids as well. So that's also really cool that you can cut and then boost, and you can kind of get a different flavor depending like what amp and speakers you have.
Right.
Quick question about the daily driver for the EQ section. I got the impression when I was cranking up the drive and then playing with the bass and the treble that it was post EQ. Is it pre or post? Because I was getting the impression that the EQ section was after the drive because it's way more flexible and doesn't seem to affect the overdrive as much.
Yeah, the EQ section is post the clipping.
Okay.
Post drive. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
And I don't even know like what other pedals, like, because I'm not an engineer, like if the Klon or I know when in a lot of pedals, the low end is chopped off in the beginning. So that flubbiness doesn't go to the clipping, and then they try to recover it. And I think that's what's happening as well. We are kind of, but I don't know relative to like other pedals, how much low end I'm cutting off and then how much I'm recovering.
Okay.
But it's kind of, yeah.
I just listened when I was tuning, and it took me a while, but I just use my ears. I'm like, this feels good. This sounds good. And sounds good on a Vox, sounds good on a Fender. And like, I had those platforms, humbuckers, single coils. Yeah. Go ahead,
Right.
Frank.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I would assume that with most pedals, at least with most drive pedals that I know the schematics of, that the EQ section is after clipping, and yeah, sometimes, as you said, like if there is a bass or low end control, they put it either parallel to the clipping section, so you can like take off some of that bass. You can avoid the whole thing if you have an active EQ in there that actually takes away bass. That's what I did with one of my pedals, where you can activate the EQ. So it's kind of a dual stage boost pedal. You can activate the EQ separately, but in this case it's active. So at 12 o'clock, it's pretty much flat. And you can add bass, but you can also take away bass. A little bit like with the TC Electronic preamp, where you can actively take away bass, and then therefore that's what like the Meshuggah guys were using to make their metal tone like tighter, and because it's tuned down to the low E or whatever. And nobody's using that.
Yep.
Drop A or something. Oh.
Drop
or is that
A,
lower than drop A?
That's lower than drop A. Yeah, it's actually they're actually tuned an entire octave down.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, on an 8-string guitar, which is
That's crazy.
absolutely insane. But yeah, I mean,
maybe they're fighting it. You gotta go up for a tighter. I don't. I'm not a metal or an 8-string. I stick to 6 strings.
yeah, same. I had a phase where I was like, yeah, 7-string might be nice. Played a 7-string for a while, but didn't last very long. I just stick with the 6-string.
6-string is enough.
So I assume that the daily driver boost is a combination of the daily driver and the single boost pedal that you make.
Yes.
Okay, and the boost
Yeah.
is just a linear clean boost, or okay, there you go.
Jonathan's
Yep,
got it right there.
there you go.
Yeah, it's a again, I don't know exactly. Linear meaning it's just boosting all the frequencies. It's an IC.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, it's TLO 702.
Mm-hmm.
702. Well, 7.1 you can use a single, but it's easier to get the 702s. So it's a dual, but I'm using only one side of it. Yeah, just a basic it goes up to about 27, about probably 30 with 18 volts dB of boost.
Okay.
Yeah. And the JFET input on the TLO 7.2 kind of gives it also a little bit of something as you start like turning it up. So it works just right. It feels good. And so, yeah, I had the single standalone boost, and then people were kind of like, oh, it'd be cool to. And a lot of popular drives where like I played a lot of like the full drive too.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and it has like a boost and a drive, so kind of dual pedals, and it's in the same size enclosure, so people really like that. And what's cool now is you have an order switch where you can put boost before or after, and you can kind of I like having the boost before and just boosting it a little bit, and then you can use it as like a second channel, so you got your kind of like drive, and then you can hit it, and it goes up in volume just a tiny bit, but the gain goes up as well.
Yep.
Okay. What did you think when you said I'm going to do a stereo daily driver? Because it's not very common. It's not, we know about stereo delay, stereo reverb, stereo, modulation effects, etc., etc. But I've rarely seen a stereo overdrive pedal.
Yeah, so some people commented, is it a dual mono or is it stereo? I called it stereo because it's true. Like there's two daily driver boards in the pedal.
Oh, so two PCBs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, they don't share, like the signal is split. Like you plug into one, you aren't going to get anything out of the other one.
Oh.
So I forget where I got this idea. Maybe somebody asked me about it.
Yeah.
But what I did was I did a video and I put it after like delay and reverb and just really like crunched it up.
Yeah.
And it was so cool that the artist Seal, he reached out and he's like, I want one.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
I didn't know it was the Seal at first. So we just were kind of talking. We're like, oh, I don't have them in stock. I'll build one. He's like, awesome. So he gets one and he gets another one. And then he starts ordering a bunch of my other pedals. And then later we find out it's actually Seal.
No way. That's amazing.
Yeah. and he's a big gear guy. He's on YouTube all the time checking videos, and he plays guitar. He's a left-handed player. He plays acoustic and electric. And so he was really fascinated with the stereo part of it.
Wow.
Where you can use it like later to like do all these cool stuff with stereo. You don't need to have two different pedals and stuff.
Wow.
So
That's a cool story.
yeah, I do have plans for like a stereo Ratatouille and maybe a few other pedals. I just don't know what the demand is for those, and we'll see. Maybe I'll put some together.
Yeah, I would assume that in general the demand can't be too high because it's there are not a lot of players out there who really play stereo, difficult. So, but since you mentioned the Ratatouille, what's the Ratatouille in its essence?
The Ratatouille.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
My wife checking in.
Okay.
She just got home. The Ratatouille. So, I'm a big fan of the Rat pedal, but I have this daily driver circuit which can do a lot of things. If you give it a lot of gain, it can get pretty, fuzzy and gritty. So I took I removed the bass knob, and then so there was just 3 knobs.
Okay.
So it's essentially the daily driver circuit in its DNA, but it has more gain, and I gave it kind of that Rat flavor.
Okay.
And a lot of people, because of the name and the look, they think it's a clone of like
Rat?
a copy of.
Yeah.
But it's not. It has Rat characters, but it's, like, again, it's the same. Like the gain all the way down, there's no signal, and then you're kind of feeding signal into the circuit.
Right.
Just different filtering, more gain, to give it that rattiness.
Gotcha.
And then Jonathan has done a demo of it.
And I actually had to defend Your Honor because people were like, it's just a stupid clone. I'm like, no, it's not a stupid clone. It's actually the daily driver modified so that it sounds more like a Rat. And people are like, well, whatever, looks like it. Come on, give me a break. I'm telling you, it's an original circuit. It's not the Rat.
I know that's the thing with, I realize, people will, if like the name implies something and they won't read the fine or the description, they'll just be like, oh, that's a Rat. The big thing is because of the price, they're like, oh, that's way too much for a Rat clone. And I'm just like, okay.
Okay. There you go.
Well, now I have the distortion.
Yes, I saw that this week.
I need to send you one, Jonathan.
Oh, definitely.
So we're like taking the Rat, but I have the low. Is it focusing? I have the low knob again, the bass.
Okay.
And it has even more gain than the Rat. So I just went crazy with this one.
Wow.
I think it has like twice the amount of gain as the Rat. And the Rat has a lot of gain.
Well, yeah, the Ratatouille. I did a video. When was it? Was it like a year ago? I did a video where I was doing like all these cover songs, and I needed like more gain because I usually play the AC-15. So what I did is I did a cover of a Dream Theater song, and I needed that Mesa Boogie kind of tone, but out of the AC-15, and I used the Ratatouille. And people were like, man, you got that Petrucci tone. I'm like, you should see the pedal I'm using. That has nothing to do with the Mesa Boogie. So now if you're telling me you have twice as much, I'm going to have to go like death metal on this demo.
It can chug a bit.
It can definitely
with tight
get there.
low end.
Yep. Absolutely.
So maybe like if you're like a metal player, you could disable the distortion on your amp and just chug on the clean channel
with an AC-15.
Quick question. So, how much so you were pretty much running this operation on your own, or you have some support from your wife or anybody who helps you, anybody who you have employed, or how's the company set up?
So it's a very small operation in my garage. I build pedals. My wife helps with customer service, emails, shipping. And because we're getting really busy now, she kind of has a schedule of like a build time. We have 4 to 5 day build time on some of the pedals. Yeah. So it's me, my wife, Isabel, and my cousin who moved from Ukraine recently. She actually did soldering work in Poland for a bit, but she's here in the States now, and she comes in about once or twice a week to help solder extra boards for me.
Gotcha.
So it's a very small family operation. And
how much
everything happens here in the garage.
So everything happens in the garage, meaning you buy blank enclosures and you color them or like powder coat them in the garage, or you buy them
No.
already powder coated?
Yeah, my look is really simple. Like I have the black. So I get the enclosures already. They come in with this like black kind of
Texture, sort of open
textured.
Yeah.
Yeah, powder coat. Yeah, the black. And then for the front, I use a laser machine. Let me see if it can.
Oh, here the
So the front is like a panel.
Yeah.
That I laser out because there's white underneath, so it like
yes.
takes off the white and reveals the letters,
Okay.
so you can read them. So that all happens here in the garage as well. I have a laser machine, and yeah, so I don't have any powder coating or any kind of screen printing. So all the graphics are just done here, like it cuts it out, and then I just I get boards done overseas and then populate them here through hole.
It's all through hole, so there's no SMT like pre-placed parts.
No,
Okay.
all through hole. Still the kind of the old school way.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, kudos. That I was asking because I was looking at some of the designs and I kind of figured out, okay, this has to be a laser machine because of the panel like look. But kudos to the design because it's simple, but it's very sleek. It's very elegant. Tells the story in a way, and also kudos to using the Pultec style knobs. Those just feel great. If my pedals weren't like so compact, and I like to build them compact, I would use big fucking knobs all the time.
Thank you. Yeah, it became because I'm limited to that. Like I don't have the ability to like UV print. I mean, I could, but it's just you have to do in bigger numbers. So this allows me to be pretty flexible and do kind of smaller runs. I've done some custom stuff too. I can like write things in, and it kind of put me into this position, and now it's actually a unique look for the brand. And when people like at NAMM walk by and they're like, I have them set up on the table, and it draws people in. It's something different and unique. So I'm really fortunate for that too.
You know what kind of it reminds me, because you keep the look like throughout the line where you see some of the bigger names in the industry, you see them like coming up with a new, completely unique design for every new pedal. One is like has a ninja blasted over it. The other one has like all kinds of crazy colors, and you keep it like very simple throughout the line, which obviously makes them recognizable. And it reminds me a little bit of what's his name? The guy from England. Gosh, I always forget his name.
Recent or
no, the guy who made them for
was
Gilmore.
it the Pep box or something?
No, the guy who made them for
Pete
Gilmore.
Cornish.
Yeah, Cornish.
Pete Cornish.
Yeah, because he does the same thing. He makes them. He always makes them in sort of the same way. And he keeps it that way. He doesn't change. He doesn't go with the trends or whatever. He just keeps it like in the same, so they're recognizable. Everybody knows when they see a Cornish box, it's a Cornish box.
If I'm not mistaken, Roman, a lot of like your bigger videos back in the early days, they were Pete Cornish demos, were they not?
I wouldn't say big on viewership, but I actually started the channel with a Pete Cornish pedal. The Tape Echo Simulator.
Oh, the Tape
that
Echo.
kind of kicked off the curiosity. I didn't see any demos, and I just saw people talking on forums about these Cornish pedals, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see John Mayer's got one. So I ordered the delay, and it came in, and I was like, this is a great opportunity for a video.
Yeah.
And I did the first one, and then I started comparing it to the delay pedals I had. And that's kind of, the Cornish was kind of I still have some Cornish pedals, and I do, I guess some ways I do kind of like the utilitarian look that he has. I mean, it's a label maker.
Yeah.
I probably won't ever go down to that kind of simplicity, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd get accused of doing Pete Cornish clones just because you have a label maker, right?
Oh shit.
I know. Yeah. That's
You
so
never
funny.
win with these folks online. Jeez.
Yeah, the only downside of Cornish's boxes is I think I've only seen one like with my own eyes in front of me once in my life, but I find these things to be huge. They're humongous.
Oh yeah, they're big.
They're super big, and I think the reason, if legend is true, I think the reason for that is he wants them to be indestructible, so that's why he builds them this way with these like chunky enclosures. And history has it that apparently he threw one out from a plane to see if it would land and still be intact, and it was still intact. That's the
What
legend.
kind of
I'm not
plane
sure.
was he on?
Probably.
Probably it wasn't commercial, I can tell you.
No, it wasn't commercial because you can't just open the window, at 33 kilometers above ground. But
Nope.
That's so
has to be some
funny.
kind of
They're like-
smaller plane.
Some rock star wants to throw his pedal board off the plane.
Well,
So that all still
that
works.
reminds me of here in Canada, we have trainer amps. And you guys can, if you look it up on
Yeah.
YouTube, you can find the video of where the employees go on top of the building where they build the amps, and they're throwing them out in the road. They throw them down the stairwell. They grab the amps, they plug them in, they still work.
Wow.
So, I mean, some people had that way of doing it. And I know it sounds like complete bullshit, but you can see the videos online. Like, they actually made like a small documentary. I think it's like 19 minutes long or something. And you see it, like, these guys were serious. Like, this has to be roadworthy, and this is how we do it. We're just going to chuck them everywhere and see if they still work. And they did. And those trainers, man, you can't kill them. So if Pete Cornish kind of had that thing where he grabbed a pedal and he was like, I need to chuck it from a plane because I'm sure there's some dumbass musician out there who's going to do this. What?
No, he probably thought that there's probably some unlucky bastard down there who's gonna get this thing right on his head.
Oh, yeah. I'm keeping it.
It matters where it lands, if it's like on concrete or, in
In the water.
in the mud or something,
Yeah.
on ground. Yeah,
For sure.
that should be a marketing thing for.
Oh, absolutely.
I can afford that, but that would be a cool start.
When we were talking earlier, you were talking about the more utilitarian approach you have to pedals, and one I don't think gets enough recognition in your line is this guy, the buffer fuzz interface.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that it doesn't have a sound per se, but it's great at isolating like really capricious fuzz pedals that you're going to have on your board if they interact with, let's say, something with a buffer. And then the impedance is off, the pedal doesn't run the way it's supposed to. And this is a great way to do it. And you also have this simulation of cable length on the pedal right here.
Oh, yeah.
And I was wondering, like, how did you come up with the concept for this one?
Yeah, so I saw that when I put the buffer together, I was like, wow, this is a really good sounding buffer. And then I saw some products where they're like, oh, you can, use our buffer and we have a loop for like fuzz and stuff. And I was like, I think I can make it more compact and just, it's another idea. And so when I tested out some fuzz pedals just between the guitar into the fuzz and an amp, I've noticed that the fuzz face, if you have a longer cable after the fuzz face into the amp, that cable, because of the circuit's so fragile, that cable actually will determine your high end.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a short cable, you have
Yeah.
more high end, like the fizzy fuzz. And then the longer cable is going to roll off your fuzz. So I'm like, okay, so if I'm gonna try to emulate and have like a buffer with a fuzz loop, I want to also give people the chance to, because when your fuzz is really close to another pedal that's kind of acting like an amp, like an input impedance, so it's gonna make your fuzz bright. You're not gonna get that Hendrix kind of like long cable after the fuzz pedal. So I'm like, hey, let me see if I can, make it better than what the other people have. And then that kind of 3 option came out where it's, I chose capacitors that would pretty much emulate the length, 20 and 15, or is it says 10 and 20?
It says 10 and 20. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 10 and 20. So it's 0 in the middle. So you're not going to it's like literally no cable. Your fuzz is going to go straight into the amp, like with a jack to a jack. But giving people the ability, if like there's no tone knob on a fuzz pedal, like a fuzz face, I know there's modern fuzz pedals that have all kinds of controls. So yeah, that was kind of the idea of if your fuzz is on your board and you want to achieve that kind of sound where it's like going, a long cable to an amp, you can do that on your pedal board without, coiling up a cable.
Right.
Very interesting.
Moving away a little bit from like technical specifications. So I've seen that you work with a couple of dealers and even with distributors, but what would you say is the percentage of, like, in terms of business, like, is most of your business direct to consumer, or do you sell a lot through these dealers and distributors?
I don't know the percentage of how many go to dealers and how many are consumers. So I would say in US, at first we didn't have any dealers. It was all direct. And then we have some, at first I was like, okay, I'm going to let some international dealers, because of all the import and taxes. It's a little bit easier to have a dealer. Mm-hmm. And then we do have one in the USA. And I've noticed when people actually play the pedals for themselves at a store, they get excited and they will buy the pedal. Mm-hmm. And so I've noticed that we still sell a lot direct, but we have like a dealer in South Korea, mm-hmm. and they've been ordering lots of pedals, Daily Driver Boost, and they kind of do marketing on their side as well in South Korea. Right. So that's a very great thing, and I wouldn't be able to sell direct that many to South Korea. So we do take, a hit, but they order in larger quantities. So I have noticed, dealers do allow. I wouldn't do the online because we sell on Reverb, and some of those dealers do sell on Reverb. But if they have a store and people can come in and touch and see the pedal for themselves, it's very helpful. It does help sell the pedal.
Okay. The pedal market has been pretty much saturated to the absolute extreme in, I would say, the past 10 to 15 years, getting like another sort of boost, especially during the pandemic. A lot of people thought like, I can't play shows, but I play guitar. I know tone. I can, how difficult can it be to build a pedal? So, as to the point where at this moment while we're speaking, we have around 2,500 registered pedal companies in the world. 2,500, and that doesn't even count the ones that are not registered. They're just sitting at home, building fuzzes and range masters and whatnot, and then selling them on Reverb or whatever marketplace you wanna name. Does this saturation somehow, or has it affected your business, especially in the past 4 to 5 years, or was it always kind of kind of stable?
So when I launched the Daily Driver, it was the NAMM 2020, and
Oh,
people
wow.
got excited. Got on like a kind of a list. I didn't take any money up front, but they got on like this wait list, sort of a pre-order list. And then when the pandemic hit, it was after the NAMM show, like March, everything shut down, and a lot of people started like canceling. So I had about maybe 60 to 70 people on the list, and maybe like 15, maybe 20 actually went through.
Wow.
And so that was my start. So I didn't start with a lot of, I guess, would you say, I always try to keep expectations low. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't get overwhelmed in the beginning, because I was still working out some kinks. Like a foot switch I was using, I thought was great. It was like a very high failure rate. So it was a good thing that I started slower kind of during the pandemic. I think established brands maybe did sell a lot more during that time, but I kind of was just starting to grow. And there was times where I'm like, oh man, like, I don't know, like things are slowing down, and I'm like, we haven't got an order in like a couple days. I'm like, should I stop building? And and it gets to my head. But thankfully, like we have such a small operation. I don't have any overhead. I don't have like stock of pedals that I'm like, I don't know what to do with them. Like run sales. And so that's when I was starting to grow my original brand, because I used to do mods, but yeah, a lot of people canceled, but then it slowly started trickling in.
Okay.
And as I did more marketing, and the pedal kind of got out to more and more people, and more people started to put it on their boards. Yeah, I didn't have this like kind of like a huge increase and then a dip. Like everything has been kind of more steady.
Right.
And so I guess, yeah, because of how I did, I'm more conservative, like kind of build as you go. Like I didn't get any huge loans that I was like struggling to pay back. Yeah, building out like the brand and going to the NAMM show helped a lot. Like I haven't skipped I did skip a NAMM show, but I had other people there 2 years ago. But yeah, like all the NAMM shows, and a lot of people just in person walking by and just really getting intrigued by the look of the pedals. Just a little bit of everything. And then people demoing the pedals like Jonathan and others. And I'm sharing on social media, and we have an artist program where people can sign up to join the artist, and they get artist pricing, and we kind of look at a person and a guitar player and see like who they're playing with, and we love to do that kind of networking.
Right. You were mentioning marketing. So, what kind of marketing sort of channels do you use? You said you're definitely sending out pedals to people to demo, like Jonathan, for example, and I suppose to other channels. What would you say is your, and you don't have to give me like insights on that, but do you think that in relation to what you sell, you spend a lot of money into marketing, especially YouTube marketing?
I don't like to just like dump money into ads. I would rather do more of like, I don't even know what kind of style of marketing you would call it, but I love to have people like Jonathan, for example, like he demos the pedal, and there's some cost to that. You know, you have to send the pedal, and sometimes the demo person will charge a fee. But I do like the marketing where the artist, or like where they're playing with a band and they come through town, and I'm like reaching out like, hey, can I come see you guys, and then maybe do a quick video.
Yeah.
And so I know like maybe I should do better with online marketing, but I just kind of gauge it for myself when I see like an ad. I mean, I'm like, okay, people paid money to see, to show this ad. And I don't really respond to ads in that way. Like if I like something and I need something, or if it sounds really good, or like something's really like a good piece of equipment, I'm gonna like, it's gonna be on my mind, and I'm gonna like get it at some point, whether it's on sale or not.
Right.
So I try to kind of do more marketing through artists. I like that.
Okay.
Like I would rather I make less money and give them a pedal for a cheaper price, but then they're doing the marketing for me. They're helping me spread the word when they're playing, and they're posting photos or videos about it.
Right.
But as opposed to kind of like that classic marketing, I just, like maybe it could help a little bit, but I don't know why I don't gravitate towards that much.
I was asking the question because I recently have had some conversations with companies in the industry, especially pedal builders of all sort of profiles. Some of them have actually like a really huge operation right now. Others are still in the phase where, they're doing everything on their own. But all of them sort of said that this whole, fee structure with YouTubers is going kind of bonkers. And the pricing has gone up like significantly, depending on what kind of reach they have. Suddenly some of these guys have reached like 40,000, 50,000 subscribers, and they're like, yeah, my videos are 600 to 800 euros or $600 to $800, where it's like, okay, if you do that with one channel, fine, but you want your pedal, or your product to be like widespread into like many audiences to get recognition and then cash in orders. So you're gonna have to pay this guy 600 and this guy, and then that's not even the top. I've heard numbers that are like $1,500 to $2,000 for a video, which is, to me, is absolutely insane. And then one of the guys I was talking to told me, do you know how many pedals I have to sell to get those 2,000 euros back? I have to sell a lot of pedals, and I'm not even sure the video is actually going to give me that instantly, if it's selling. That's where my question comes from, where it's like pricing has gone up substantially, and I was just trying to figure out if you're like, yeah, I'm happy to spend that money on some of those YouTubers because my pedal is going to be in everybody's face. But yeah, as you said, you prefer artists instead of YouTubers.
Yeah, I'm being a YouTuber myself. I don't know. There's a few different ways to do it, and I know there's like the top guys like Andy Martin he used to do the Pro Guitar Shop, and now he does like for Reverb. He's like the top guy. He actually lives not too far from here.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it is in
Portland,
Oregon, right?
Oregon.
Yeah.
I'm just across the river north into Washington.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's really short. We're like maybe like 40 minutes away from each other.
Wow.
So yeah, there is a way, but I think like when a product is good, it just like my daily driver, like I'm really glad that people started like noticing the pedal, and when others are recommending it to their friends or something, like there's a way to pay these big YouTubers to like get the word out. It's a new pedal. That's a good strategy too, but I don't know. I just, for some reason, I've done some of the like higher paid, like not $1,000, but I've done, and it's, it helps get the word out there, but it's not like a magic, like, oh,
No.
somebody saw that, boom, like,
20
I'm
orders.
flooded with orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Like if John Mayer like uses my pedal or something, then I'm gonna be probably like swamped. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just, paying a lot of, I mean, that is also a great, like, I mean, there's a reason they get paid because they do advertise. But I just, I think that I'm doing it like from the other side. Like I rather like do more word of mouth than just kind of like popular YouTube guys like, hey, here's this pedal. Because I couldn't afford it. I mean, now maybe it's better. I could afford, but I'm still not doing it that way, where I'm paying these really expensive guys on YouTube. I just feel like there's a bit of a. I'm saying I'll never do it, but I found that like the kind of more cheaper way and a little bit more effective way is for me at least, is kind of the other way. Like I'd rather work with the artist and kind of have the word spread more of like person to person. And then I'll get like a somebody who's a little bit more well known to use my products. And that just kind of validates for people like, oh, I've been seeing this pedal. Like, oh, okay. And slowly that still works. I'm still in business. So that, I guess I'm doing okay.
If you guys don't mind, I just want to give a perspective from the YouTuber guy who does demos like on the regular, because I think that the companies, they approach it from an old marketing concept, and YouTubers are stuck in this situation where you want to do the product placement. So let's say you send me a pedal, I want to put it in front of an audience, but everyone seems to forget that YouTube is the world's second biggest search engine. So if no one is searching for the pedal, for the guitar, for the amplifier, the views have to be marketed by the YouTuber. In other words, let's say I get a pedal. Let's say, Roman, you were starting today. You send me your first build. No one's ever heard of you. You don't have a YouTube channel. You're just someone starting. And you said, hey, Jonathan, I'm going to pay you $500. You have 1,000 subscribers. Let's hope that this converts into sales. The odds are, if I just do a pedal demo, I might get 20 views. And that's it, because no one's ever heard of the company. No one knows what the product is. Now, if the YouTuber starts to think differently, says, hey, here's a pedal that can do everything. So you think of the title, you think of the thumbnail, you think of the approach you want, then maybe you change that 20 views to maybe 3,000 views. Now that 3,000 views you just got on the pedal, that might be over a year, might be over 2 years. But now you're in the search engine. So that means if anyone is curious about your pedal, they're going to write the name and one video pops up. If you're fortunate, you send it out to a few other people, maybe there's 10 videos on your pedal. So you as a person who's making these pedals, hoping to make a sale, that might convert into a few sales, but you're not going to be Wampler, you're not going to be JHS. Now, Jonathan gets a pedal from Boss. Boss has just released a new pedal, right? Everyone knows Boss, and they're going to be doing a shit ton of marketing on their end. It's going to be everywhere. No one's going to miss this product release. Then those pedals, those videos do convert into more sales, because now when people are looking for them, there's going to be like Pete Thorne, Andy Martin, all these guys have videos. And I think that's where the YouTuber and the company have to really talk about like the best strategy for a video. What are you hoping to do? Like Brian Wampler will show you all the knobs, will tell you the story about how he came up with the pedal. So if you get a pedal, don't do the same video he just did, because no one's going to look at it. You got the master, the guy who just made the damn pedal, who does the video, right? That's so true. If you're going to approach it, you need to approach it differently. And where I'm going with this is that if the YouTuber charges $1,500, they better have a great concept for the video. Because if they're just going to go through the knobs, make a 5-6 minute long video, and there you go, my part's done, thank you, you're not really helping out anyone in the industry at all. That's why I don't charge, because I can't guarantee that it's going to convert into sales for you. But what I do is I end up using the pedal way more times in different videos. If someone asks a question, what is that pedal? I answer, and then I refer them back to the company. So if we all take this approach with videos, I think that might help companies, reach more people and at least have some exposure for what they do, instead of just charging like top dollars and letting the company suffer the consequences. You just paid me. I did my video, man. Everything is in your camp now. I did my part. Kind of get what I'm getting at here is YouTubers could do a better job, for sure.
Yeah, Jonathan, I think, you have a good point, and I'm very more open to YouTube channels that are thinking more like that, like you just explained. And that's why we work together too. I sent you several pedals where, there is a lot of these expensive guys that they'll just run. They kind of working off of the status they have of the subscribers and stuff. And they will just run through the knobs. And that's probably maybe one thing that I'm like, I could do that myself too.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have the setup to do it. But it's from my perspective. You'll get some views, but those bigger guys, like I really like what you said, that I would be a lot more open to working, like somebody promoting a pedal of mine that is excited about growing their channel and doing more interesting, and like you have a Vox AC15. I do a lot of AC30. That's kind of my bass sound. And that's a really good also, like where some people will do like a direct, they'll plug in, and I feel like two pedals through tube amps do sound a little bit better. And getting creative and even reusing the pedal in other videos, like comparing or something, like I got a new amp or a new guitar. How is this? Oh, here's a few different versions of pedals, and then one of mine is in there. That's really cool. But yeah, it's those guys where it's like, those really top guys where Boss like just pays them. They showcase the product. Everybody knows Boss has a new pedal out. But yeah, with the smaller guys, it's not as efficient. Yeah, I like the people who are excited and creative to grow their channel, and also like you said, creative ways to show off a product and help market themselves along with the pedal or the product that they got.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as you said, I mean, if you look at, because now it's kind of common practice that at release date, everybody comes out with their video of the same sort of thing, and you're getting flooded with 10 videos of the same pedal or the same amp or the same whatever kind of device. And it's always, or these days, it's usually a company that has enough marketing budget to actually pay all these people. You usually see it from guys like Boss. You see it from everything that Fender might make. You saw it with a Tone Master, with this sort of multi-effect sort of thing. You see it with Wampler. You see it with JHS. Although, JHS kind of goes their own way now. They work with a few people, but everything they do, they pretty much do in their own show, which probably has been a good idea, because this show has substantially raised their subscriber count. But yeah, it's usually companies that have enough marketing budget to actually pay all these people, which doesn't apply for, probably guys like you or like some other people we could mention who are running smaller operations, unfortunately. What do you see? So I saw that all of your pedals are pretty much the sort of gain based. I see a compressor in there as well, which is also kind of, playing with the level. Do you have any plans in the near or distant future to sort of go into sort of modulation territory or, time-based effects?
Yeah, I do have plans. One of my big kind of ideas that I will eventually get to is the analog delay pedal. I'm a big delay guy, and I think kind of like a Memory Man style with tap tempo, but like a good, like the old, like the big box sound.
Yeah.
That was one of my ideas for a delay, to like create the world's best analog delay, with the repeats are just magical, and then like a tremolo and a chorus. Those are some ideas that I have that I feel like I'm still kind of trying to cover the basics.
Okay.
You need a fuzz. You need a fuzz. I want a Shnobel Tone fuzz.
I do have some ideas for a fuzz pedal. It's just gonna say fuzz,
Yeah, just call it fuzz. To the point. Fuzz, but with one Z. Or Z, sorry. Z. One Z.
F-U-Z, huh?
F-U-Z, fuzz.
Fuzz.
Gotta do it, man.
Yeah, and I had like ideas for like a reverb. I mean, I like the like a pedal, and then the name of it has a cool, like I have like horsepower. That's my like clownish kind of flavor. And I wasn't too creative with the distortion. It's just distortion. And Ratatouille, is an interesting name, but like Ridgefield is apparently, you guys heard of the company U-Haul? They have like the trucks where you can rent them to move. U-Haul started in Ridgefield, in our little town.
Really?
Wow, okay.
Yeah. They started here, and they kind of moved out, went corporate later and stuff. But I was thinking like a reverb called the U-Haul, like just a simple like spring reverb or something. Yeah, I love that kind of like the play. The name has to kind of be cool too. I think that gets people a little bit. That's my thing.
Yeah. Name
yeah,
definitely
so there's
makes
some
difference.
There's ideas, maybe like a little preamp pedal, but I'm not like an electrical engineer, so I'll have ideas and stuff, but I do need a lot of help with the layout and stuff like that, and I'm pretty busy. I might like have some more help, that way I can free up, that way I can do more R&D. I still have ideas, but I'm still kind of tweaking what I have and what I'm capable of doing. Like the daily driver circuit really is flexible. So I have the mid driver, I have the horsepower, now I have the distortion. And it's all kind of based on the daily driver circuit, just with different components.
Right. So, as soon as you have covered all the dirt stuff and you've released the fuzz with one Z.
With one Z,
we can expect some. We can expect some time-based effects and tremolo. I think it is. I think making a really good analog delay is a shit ton of work. I think it's very, very difficult. Every time I've tried to create one, I think the part that made me crazy most of the times was getting the basic tone right, so that there's no alteration of your basic sound, but also getting the sound and sort of the fullness of the repeats right. That always made me crazy. I think I've done 3 or 4 attempts to create an analog delay. On the typical delay chip that everybody uses, that's available. And I was always getting crazy on, it's so difficult to get the tone right. You can get repeats. That's easy. Getting repeats is like a few resistors.
How the repeats sound, right?
Yeah, the repeat sound is like, this is key, to a good. It has to be sort of smooth, but it can't be too dark because you're not gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it in the amp, but if the amp is mic'd up, you're not gonna hear it well over the PA system. So these are all the things that you're thinking about when you're doing this. And I think, I don't know many people or many companies who make a really, really good analog delay. I couldn't name one, to be honest. I think it's really difficult.
There's some that came out recently. The J Rocket, something like Time.
Yeah, they did something.
Sir has a, like that guitar company Sir.
Yeah.
They make an analog delay. I've played on some of them, but I feel like they still miss the magic of, you know what, Frank, I'm going to get it right.
I hope so.
I know it's going to be a tough, but I have some references that I have a couple of memory mans that sound really good. And I don't know. Like I said, when I started modifying, if there's a will, there's got to be a way. But I'm glad that you're not releasing something that you're not like 100%.
Oh no, it's it has to pass so many tests in order for me to be happy with it. And then when I'm done testing, I'm giving it to somebody that I really trust. It's like, hey, you test it and you tell me what you think. And only then I'm gonna put this into I'm gonna put this into a nice looking box, and hopefully somebody's going to be interested in it. You mentioned the J Rocket. Yeah, it's called the Clockwork.
Oh yeah, the big fancy one. Yeah.
Exactly. But essentially, it says, in conjunction with Howard Davis, in brackets, the inventor of the original Deluxe Memory Man. So essentially, it's some sort of Deluxe Memory Man derivative. Some I don't want to say a clone, but yeah. So that's
it's a great delay, but I still feel like that. I don't know. Maybe it's impossible, but until I try it, I'll know or not. I mean, I'll know if it's possible or not, but it's gotta be like, yeah. I mean, at least that's my approach. I'm like, if I have the opportunity to tune it and,
And the Sir one, let me see what that one is. That's the Discovery delay, which sort of looks like it looks like the what's the name of that delay from the English company?
The Flight? Oh, English.
No, there's an English company that makes a delay pedal that also John Mayer is using. A Providence.
Is it
Providence? Yeah, Providence.
Yeah, the Providence.
I think that's Japanese.
I think they're Japanese, yeah.
Probably Japanese. I thought they were English. Okay. Oh, my bad.
But yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. The Providence pedals there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Providence and the Sir Discovery analog delay looks a little bit like that, but yeah, obviously like more fancy and has like more options and whatnot. Analog delay, digital controls. That's interesting. It's as interesting as the price because this thing is like $800. So.
Oh wow.
And $800 for an analog delay is steep.
That's a lot,
to be honest.
And then there's one more Boss, the DM202 or something.
Yeah, is that
the big one?
Oh, okay, the big one. Okay.
Yeah, that looks like they're older, like CE1 and stuff.
Yeah.
But the DM2
is pretty good too.
The DM2 is, yes, agree it's pretty good, but what the DM2 does in a way,
Are you talking about the original DM2?
yes,
Okay, but Boss has that big one that came out like a year ago.
yes,
202 or something.
Let's see,
That's like
Boss.
all analog chips, but it's like digitally controlled.
DM101.
Or 101?
Yeah, delay machine.
It has that 3 foot switches.
So yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. DM101 analog, bucket brigade, schematics, and digital processing and control. So yeah, it's digitally controlled, but works on analog BBD chips. Yeah, I haven't tried that one. But if it does the same thing as the DM2, because the DM2, I mean, everybody praises the DM2 as like the holy grail of like compact analog delay pedals. But what it does, in a way, it makes the repeats, they're kind of nice and smooth, but the basic sound gets a little bit of more top end. Is what I found
Like
out.
your dry signal gets more top end.
The dry signal gets a little bit more top end, gets like a little sparkly. It's not 100% linear. You know, it's going to add some top end.
Is the Aquapus
way huge.
yeah, like the original ones, the AP1 is George.
I think that was based on the DM2, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the one that John Mayer and Brad Paisley, they use it for like that kind of slap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has a, like you said, like, well, the repeats are not very hi-fi, and so they kind of like work really well for like sitting right behind the sound.
Right.
Are they? I don't know anything about pedals except what sounds good and what doesn't. But does it have to do? Well, I'm being honest. Like, I don't know anything. I can't keep up with like conversations about circuits and stuff. But my impression is that there's a lot of filtering going on with analog delays compared to like, let's say, a digital delay where you get like this pristine one-to-one repeat of your signal. Every time I've played a analog delay, it always feels like something gets filtered. I don't know if that has to do with anything with the chips they're using that are creating noise or whatever, but every time I've played something like a DM2 or Ibanez, like I don't know if you remember those pedals from Ibanez, the pink one and the purple one. One of them was the pink one was the delay, and the purple I think was the chorus.
Yeah.
Those had like such dark repeats, and at the time I didn't know why that was, but I've thought since that maybe it has to do with like dealing with the chips or whatever components that are noisy, so they have to filter them out and try to make them, you know, not as noisy in terms of the noise floor of the pedal. Maybe I'm just talking poop and I don't know what I'm saying, but you know, it's a possibility.
I think Frank can probably answer that. But yeah, there is filtering because the Bucket Brigade chips, they're known for like that clock noise.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like a kind of a high pitch kind of thing. And so I think a lot of companies, like maybe they're cutting corners, they just filter it all out. But there is a way to get rid of that with retaining some high end, right?
Yes. There is a way. So as soon as you start to tweak around with different capacitors and resistors, or like even a small like network of capacitors and resistors, there's a way to filter it out or to keep it in. You know, some people like high end. You know, there are analog delays out there where they almost sound like digital ones. They maintain the exact sound. They don't like kind of smooth off like analog delays normally do. But here's a fun fact. I just was looking for the original Aquapus, and I found one on Reverb, and it's $3,500.
No, thank you.
And it's like 100% original, production number 106, and it says original MK1 blah 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 analog delay John Mayer, Brad Paisley.
Yeah, exactly. So if once John Mayer or Brad Paisley uses your pedal, I mean, and then discontinue it right after that.
Yep.
The use prices.
We always say we always say that here whenever we talk to someone that is related with pedals. We say if it's on John Mayer's pedalboard, it's relevant, and then you're gonna sell the shit out of it. And funny enough, I've seen an interview with John Mayer that wasn't even tech or like gear related. It was like an interview with some guy who has like a pretty big platform for interviews and podcasts. Don't remember the name though, but he was talking about like habits when it comes to like consume, like buying stuff and whatnot. And he says whenever he finds a guitar pedal that he likes very much, he immediately buys 10. Because he knows as soon as somebody's getting a whiff of that he's using it and somebody's posting a picture, prices go up. So he's a very price aware.
And then he resells them, right?
Who knows? Who knows how many pedal boards this guy has floating around all over the planet.
Somebody has to find his Reverb like username or something.
I
don't know.
I'm not sure what his username is, but I can tell you that he definitely is. He's definitely a Reverb user because there's this guy Justin Jeske, I believe.
Oh yeah, YouTube channel there.
Yeah, YouTube channel, and he's like very into the stuff of John Mayer and John Frusciante. And he usually investigates very, very thoroughly, and he takes like everything into account. And when they were looking for the tone of a specific solo from the last album, he found out what the device is, which is like an old Japanese fuzz that is almost as big as an amp, like super old thing. And he actually found out that John bought it on Reverb, because he was able to kind of backdate when the item was sold.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
And he bought 2 of those, like one in Japan and the other one was somewhere else. And he kind of could backdate when they did the recording for the album and when these things were purchased. So we definitely know that John Mayer buys stuff on Reverb. That's for sure.
Wasted talent doing that on YouTube, man. This guy could solve like the Jack Ripper mystery, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. He bought those shoes in 1884 in this shop in England.
Yeah.
Well, at least, I think this is an example of a YouTube channel that really knows what they're about. Like, I've seen many of his videos. He's passionate. He's like super excited to share what he has in terms of information, and he's grown his channel exponentially. He's like the only person that does that on YouTube, and kudos to him, because that's brilliant. Like, I would have never thought that, niching down on one particular artist or even 2. Like, I know that John Frusciante is like one of his main topics, but like, he goes down the rabbit hole, and the people in his audience, they go down the rabbit hole too.
Yeah,
that's just nuts. No, I'm not like I'm not that geeky when it comes to gear. Like, I don't really care. Like, there's a blurry picture of his pedal board from like the 3rd floor up. What is that purple pedal? And then everyone like just like in there, like Nancy Drew trying to find the information. I'm like, whatever. I'm probably not going to afford it by the time you guys figure it out. So
yeah, exactly.
No, thank you.
I've seen his channel before. Yeah, it's really cool. Like, it reminds me of like, there's like a talent where like there's YouTubers also, like somebody sends them a picture of somebody standing by a tree.
Yeah.
And they're like able to geolocate it after like an hour of like crazy search.
Shit.
Oh, the sun shadows from this side. And so the same thing is John Mayer's pedal board. It's like they give you like a fuzzy old picture and they're like, there's 4 knobs. It's a purple color. Okay, this must be like so and so pedal, and like came out and what release date then, and yeah, it's kind of interesting how people do these forensic. And there's this one pedal that still nobody has found out what it is on John's board. It's like all black, and it's like a Klon looking pedal, but it's not a Klon or something. He painted it black, and even he was still figuring out, like, supposedly Josh from JHS knows what the pedal is, but he's not gonna like let anybody. Yeah, like, it's their little secret. I don't know.
Probably one of those pedals that still sells for a good price, and they all came to the same conclusion. They're like, okay, guys, we're going to do one of those Illuminati circle thing here. We're not going to reveal this, or else the prices are going up, and then we're all screwed. So yes, let's just put black gunk all over it. No one will ever figure it out. It's probably one of those things, because I have a lot of pedals that I'm waiting for John Mayer to play with so I can sell, and he still hasn't played them. So, if he does play with something that I want for like $40 and then he plays it and then it's 4,000, I might be a little miffed. So I understand the conspiracy. I really do.
Jonathan, do you have 10 of each one of them?
I never thought of that. Like, that's brilliant. I said it earlier. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't think that way. But now that I know, I'm going to try to figure out what John Mayer will play next. I'll buy 10 of them. And we'll see. Maybe I'm going to have a shit ton of pedals here that are worth nothing. Just
what if he
stacked
puts
in boxes.
the daily driver on his board, Jonathan? You're going to need 9 more.
Well, what I'm going to do then is do more demos of those pedals. And every time, I'm just going to stack them up. But you have to do that, though. You have to get the daily driver in his hands. Do it.
I have attempted... one of my brothers, he has an in-ear monitor company, and he has been in touch with his tech, and I passed along a Ratatouille and a daily driver. So they were supposed to get into his hands at some point. This was like a year or so ago, maybe more, a couple of years ago.
What number is my Ratatouille? 14. So that means if ever he does play one and now everyone's looking for the OG Ratatouille, I'm going to be able to put it on reverb and say, I have number 14, one of the early production ones.
the black pedal on his pedal board.
Let me see if I have it written down which serial that I passed on.
If it's 01 and I'm close, I'm going to be able to sell it for more cash.
The black pedal on his pedal board that nobody knows is probably some like Behringer clone.
That would be hilarious.
That was rehoused into like a big black box.
That would be hilarious. Well, think of the TS10 and how that went up in price.
Oh shit! Yeah, nobody gave a shit about the TS10 before John Mayer posted a picture of his pedal board. Everybody was like, "What? This plastic fucking thing is?" I'll give you $50, and
someone offered me. Yeah, someone offered me a TS10 in a trade, and I was like, "Are you out of your mind? I don't want your TS10. That's a cheap, like, stupid plastic pedal." And not 2 years later, I see another guy offering me the same pedal, but this time he wants like one of my high-end pedals. I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" He's like, "Have you checked the prices lately?" Like, "No." So then I go and check, and I'm like, "What do you mean $300? What happened?" And then it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, "What is this?" And it's basically the John Mayer effect. It's so funny that there's even a video of John Mayer playing live with, I think, like a purple, like Kramer guitar from the 80s or whatever. And it was just more of a jab at people like, are those going to go up in price too? Like, guys, quit being idiots. Stop like inflating the price because he gets his hand on it. It's like you had Stevie Ray Vaughan that kind of had the same effect with like the TS-808. Right? Yeah. It's like, oh, the early TS-808. Oh, those are the good ones. Are they? Are they the good ones?
Only the ones from 1981.
Are they just as good as the other ones after?
Only the ones from 1981. Everything else is shit because because of the special fairy dust 4558 chips. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Such a
Yeah, they were made in Russia and like some special laboratory, and since then, it all went to shits, and no one can figure out how to make really good chips anymore. These were military spec.
So, Jonathan, what serial number is your Ratatouille?
Mine is number 14.
14. Okay, the one that I passed on to John Mayer was 10.
Ooh.
Serial number 10.
damn.
If he plays one, I'm like 4 after. Come on. $4,000 for my Ratatouille. I'll sell it and then I'll buy another one. Sure, it won't be close to John Mayer's, but who cares?
Sounds good. Towards the end of each episode, we always have a little funny game that Jonathan is in charge of, and that we ask all the guests that we have. It's a little game with rapid fire questions. So, Jonathan, you go.
Okay, so it's 5 questions. Pretty simple. No credit card information. We don't need that. We're
No
good.
purchase necessary.
No. Yeah. No, it's just no purchase necessary. So the first question I have for you, out of all the pedals that you have right now, which one is the one that you would take on a desert island with you and play just that as the main Shnobel Tone pedal?
I would take the Daily Driver Boost pedal. Covers a lot of ground, and that would be like, if I was to choose one, that would be the one.
That one. Okay. Second question. Now, let's say you're on that island and you can only have 5 pedals. So it could be anything you want, but we're keeping it to 5 just to make it simple. What pedals are you bringing with you?
I would grab a wah pedal, my Daily Driver Boost pedal. I'd probably take a Ratatouille. Well, no, actually, let's do the distortion pedal. That's already 3. And then I would have a deluxe Memory Man delay. And for reverb, I would choose like a Strymon Big Sky.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so third question. You're going on this island, but you can only take one guitar. What are you bringing with you?
I'll take my 2006 Eric Johnson Strat.
Nice one.
Nice choice. Okay, fourth question. Vox AC30 or Vox AC30? Which one?
Vintage Vox AC30.
No, wrong
I have
answer.
a 1964 vintage Vox.
Oh,
top
nice.
boost.
Wow. See, I'm not as like fortunate as you to have an AC30 from that era, but I do have an AC50 from 1966 with a matching cab and the whole thing, and that's pretty sweet too. But there's no bells and whistles on this thing. It's like straight up, you plug in, you have the EQ section and volume, and that is it. Like there's no reverb or a tremolo or anything. But your amp is pretty darn sweet. I would love that. Okay, so that brings us to question number 5. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. If you could collab with any other pedal company, which one do you think would fit with Shnobel Tone values and your vision? What, like, almost think like JHS and Boss, right? Or Keeley and other companies. Like, which company do you think would fit perfectly with you for a collaboration for a pedal?
It's a good question.
Oh, man. Ooh. I mean, I want to say like maybe Pete Cornish.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, like, am I not skipping anybody else that I would yeah, I think Pete. I would love to, like, the way he builds and designs and stuff. I think, yeah, I'd probably choose Pete Cornish.
That what you have to do now is, if you were to do that, you'd have to have your black enclosure, but with his tape on all your pedals. So then it would be like a real fusion of both. So people would be like, is he ripping him off? No, it's actually a collaboration with Pete Cornish.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just remember my second place would have been Steen from Screedstrup.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
Danish
Screedstrup.
guy.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, he's renamed it to like Caveman Audio.
Okay.
Oh, see, I know that name. Yeah.
Yeah, Caveman Audio. It's like Caveman Audio by Screedstrup. He's another brilliant guy too.
This guy is an absolute genius.
Maybe third place. Sorry, I'm just creating new rules here. Third
That's
place,
fine.
I would say maybe like Bob Bradshaw from Custom Audio Electronics.
Mm.
Another one of
Yeah.
those guys who makes stuff that's indestructible.
Yeah.
I have his wah, the one that I think they made in collaboration with MXR. Wow, that is the wah I was looking for. It
Nice.
blows my mind. Like I have 3 wahs, and that's the one I stepped on it, and I was like, "Whoa!"
I was eyeing that wah. Like there was a really good deal on one. Maybe I should get it.
It is killer. Get it. Don't even question it. Yeah, take my word for it. It is killer. If you like a more like throaty kind of wah, like you don't like the typical thin kind of wah
Quacky.
that gets like quacky 1970s porn music. If you're not into that, then that's the wah you want. Like I hate those wahs where you step on them. It's like, and you're like, okay, I've heard that before. Can I do something different? That wah's the one.
Okay. Awesome.
But I don't watch a whole lot of 70s porn, guys. Don't judge me. I'm just
No, I've heard that joke before. Yeah.
it's a reference.
What are they on, like some VHS tapes?
Yeah.
No, VHS wasn't even around.
It's those those
Film.
old reel to reels.
She has a beta 8 or something. It was called beta 8.
Yeah, something.
Porn was so much better when it was analog. None of that 4K stuff. Come on.
This is a very, very good closing argument.
Isn't it?
That's how we're gonna title the episode.
Yes. Yes.
Roman, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. On from our end, we wish you all the best and lots of success with the company going forward. If you guys have been living under a rock, have never heard of Shnobel Tone before, I highly recommend you go to shnobeltone.com. Shnobel Tone written with SH, not with SCH, but SH, Shnobel Tone. And check out Roman's designs. And whatever kind of questions you have, you can leave them. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave them in the comments. We're going to try to answer them ASAP. I think you can do that on Spotify also these days. You can ask questions and leave comments. So you're invited to do that. And until the next episode, we salute you and we wish you a great rest of the week.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me, guys.
It was a pleasure.
Was a pleasure, man.